Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel, which sounds weird to say because I'm used to TikTok, but I figured this would be a great opportunity to share my thoughts in a longer format. Now, I really wanted this first video to cover one of the craziest shows that I've just discovered, and that is Life After Lockup. There are so many versions of this show, apparently. There's Love After Lockup, Love During Lockup, I believe, and this is Life After Lockup. Like, these cameras stay in the prison. I did cover the latest season of Love After Lockup on my Patreon, as well as some clips on TikTok, so be sure to check that out if you need a catch up. But I do want to dive right into this current season of Life After Lockup because it's so explosive. This current season of Life After Lockup is a continuation of the last season of Love After Lockup. There are a few couples that have made it to the new show, as well as some from other seasons that I have not seen. Some, their contract could have expired with Love After Lockup, but we will get into all of it now. The first couple I want to bring up is Bianca and Daniel. Now, I still have my thoughts on Bianca from last season because I'm still not over how she completely disregarded his family's serious concerns about her drinking around him. Just a little backstory. Bianca met Daniel on a prison site, of course. And you will not believe the most insane reason of why she was attracted to him. So she was seriously injured because her friend was driving drunk and crashed the car. And they both thankfully survived, but she has like a permanent scar and went through a major surgery and she is alive. Now, how did she come into contact with Daniel? I'm sure you're wondering. Well, she said that while she was healing, it was a difficult time, and she wanted to specifically write someone in prison that had a DUI charge to see if she could find someone to relate to her. What? Like, please make that make sense. And I did the math because during their debut on Love After Lockup, she said that they've been talking for 8 months. And the accident, she said in a different scene, happened 9 months ago. So 1 month after this horrible accident, where, by the way, she says that she didn't know, she was out with her friends and they were drinking, and she says that she didn't know that her friend was drunk when she was driving her, which, sorry, I don't believe it. But 1 month after this life-changing accident to where you almost lost your life, you are on a prisoner site trying to connect with someone who could have done the same thing to someone else. Not a DUI survivor, not, something like that, but someone who was the offender. At the end of that season, she met with his family, and his mom really expressed how she does not think Bianca should be drinking around Daniel, asking if she still is planning to. And she's just like, yeah, girl, like, do you want to order a drink while we out right now? Like, what's the tea? The dad is sober, 5 months sober, and the mom even said that she cannot drink around him and she doesn't even want to drink around him out of respect for his sobriety, and says that is her way of supporting her man. Hint, hint. Obviously, Bianca did not take that hint because she is still saying, I'm young, I want to drink. His mom even broke down crying about how she lost her other son through an overdose, and that if Daniel was to relapse and that was to happen, she says, and I quote, she has no reason to live, which broke my heart, but also enraged my disdain for Bianca because she's just like, oh, I'm sorry, but I'm still going to drink pretty much. And this is where her age is starting to show and their age gap. I want to preface by saying I have no issues for a legal age gap within relationships. However, when it starts to become a problem is when you can tell based on maturity that you guys are in completely different places. And you can see that here. She's 23, he's 31, so there is an 8-year difference. So she's obviously in her party phase and her I want to drink, I want to go out phase. And he is just getting out of prison and needs to get his life on track. They brush over the fact in Life After Lockup so far that he has a full 13-year-old son. A full son. He was previously married, and I'm sure he would like to have some type of custody, but having this little girl around you who is a very big liability, he needs support, he needs actual help, and she's just in her party phase, which I'm like, hey girl, You do you, but don't ruin a life in the process. Getting into the season, they head to the Airbnb that they're going to be staying at, and she got a 4-month lease that she paid in full and moved from Florida to Arizona to be with her man without ever meeting him, having her thoughts and opinions about his family, and also not even knowing if he can stay there for certain because he's still on parole. So she is just spending this insurance money. She didn't say the price, but I'm sure it was a pretty penny, and being very impulsive and sporadic. I was dying because homegirl was strutting and showcasing this place like it was hers and not owned and decorated by the actual homeowner. But, you know, go off. They talk for a little bit. They have a good, quick first night, if you know what I'm saying. And the next morning, Daniel makes breakfast and they talk about their upcoming meeting with his parole officer to see if he's able to stay with her or if he would have to report to a halfway house. In my opinion, I feel that not only based on her drinking habits, but how impulsive she is, for his own good, he needs to stay with his family or he needs to report to that halfway house and get the actual help that he needs to get his life back on track. They sit down, they talk, and in the middle of the conversation, she asks Daniel to pour her a cup of coffee. He's like, girl, the coffee's over there. You can get it. I just sat here and made breakfast, so let me enjoy my food. Now, I can see both sides to this because it's not really that big of a deal. What got me was her stubbornness to just pretty much put her foot down and say, no, you go and get that coffee for me. And when he repeatedly says no, she then threw in his face all the money that she spent on him. I am glad that Daniel shut that down real quick and said, we ain't about to do that today, homegirl. She really thinks she got a puppet that she can control because she spent all her insurance money on it. But she's forgetting that he's an actual person. So this is going to be a very chaotic relationship. I can already tell. I don't know where I see this going. On to the next couple, we have Justine and Michael. Now, I did not see their Life After Lockup season, so they are new to me. And when I first was introduced to them in this episode, I really liked them. They were getting their ultrasound for their new child, and it was very sweet. However, it didn't take much for me to be like, hold on now, this is going a little too smooth. There is some kind of drama somewhere. And lo and behold, about 2 minutes in, after the nurse is like, oh, congratulations. Okay, girl, what are we going to do to make sure you are not going to get pregnant again? Because we cannot have this. It is a high risk already, and for you to keep having these kids back to back. And after hearing that, I was like, okay, why is she having all these kids back to back to back? Because I also know it's not that expensive, not even for one. After they talk about possible options, the nurse asks if she has prepared a will. Her response to that and saying, if the worst was to happen and it comes down to choosing me or the baby, choose the baby. Do not choose me. That's a true mom. She is a mother. And it kind of made sense to me as to why she's having a lot of these kids. And I mean, financial reason and health reason, I don't know. But I can tell that she has a heart of a mother, and that really touched my heart. So I'm rooting for her, but girl, you gotta do it the safe way. Mr. Michael, on the other hand, I am side-eyeing him heavily because when they were talking about potentially getting her tubes tied or whatever, they suggested a vasectomy. And he immediately was just like, oh, I cannot have my stuff not working properly. Absolutely not. Sir, we just had this wholesome moment of her saying, don't choose me, choose the baby. And you over here saying, I'm choosing my balls. I can see he's already going to be a big red flag. For him to just quickly resort to something so selfishly when she could literally die, I feel like this isn't the end of this conversation because there's no way you can end the conversation this deep on that note. They do the Love is Blind thing where it's like, they cut to something and then you get a phone call or a sit down and you're just like, wait, what happened? She gets a phone call while she's out and about doing her stay-at-home mom duties from her son, and he's panicking and crying because he apparently got into some fight with his brother. She then opens up and lets us know that he is autistic. That is her son from a previous relationship. and the brother that he's fighting with is Michael's son from another relationship. So it's a blended family situation, which is already so difficult. Honestly, it gave her even more mom points for me, because to take care of her man's kids, who isn't even hers naturally, also to take care of all those kids at once, and then also have a son that is autistic, it's a lot on her plate. So I really, really feel for her. And on top of this risky pregnancy, girl, I am sending you all the thoughts and prayers. So they both get home and try to get to the tea of what happened. Her son pretty much says that he was being bullied by his son, and like he took his phone and he like punched him and all this, that, and the other. And so in retaliation, he threw his phone in a crap. Michael just immediately was like, well, your $1,500 phone, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, sir, you are missing the point. Can we get to the reason as to why they're arguing? Can we get to the reason as to why your son put his hands on him? After going back and forth, it seems like
his son is saying that her son was making jabs at him about how his mom is better than his mom. So I guess he got mad retaliating.
It was just a lot. They ground them both and pretty much say, you will not see the light of day, which is what any black family will say. I'm used to hearing that. Typical parent stuff. However, what happened after that was the thing that shocked me the most. Once everything was said and done, Michael, for some reason, just turns around and punched a hole straight through the wall. There are a few things wrong with that for me. Number one, why are you that aggressive and that angry that you have to punch a literal hole in the wall? Two, for you to do that in front of cameras and in front of the world, I'm scared to know what you would do when cameras aren't there. And reason number three, which is the craziest to me, when he turned to punch the wall, his son was maybe about a half second away from still being there, because he just walked away. And I don't even think he realized that. So if his son would have stayed right there, or if he was just a half second quicker, who knows what would have happened. So Mr. Michael, he gotta free Justine, and we gotta free her immediately before this baby is born. Now we're on to Miss Kimberly and Joey. These are the two that I'm like, y'all could have kept them in last season. We are good on them. And it hurts me to say that, because I really like Kimberly and I really wanted to like her. I love her relationship with her sons, with her dad, with Joey's mom. I loved it all. But her tolerance of him is just something I just can't get over. I'm still mad at him because he needs to pay her dad back for that bike he stole. Allegedly, but we all know the truth. I was rooting for Kimberly and him a little bit all last season, up until the engagement party, when her friend came up to her and pretty much said, Joey just tried to make a pass at me. I don't like this relationship. I'm worried about you. I'm worried about your mental health. And she just disregarded it, got drunk and said, that's my man. That's my... Really? After catching him texting his ex, him using $2,000 of your money to put rims on the car that you bought him, stealing from her dad, allegedly, and so much more. And she's still like, that's my man and I'm gonna sit beside him. You do that, girl, but do it off my screen, because I don't want to see it. They are even reaching with their storylines, trying to see if he's the dad to one of her sons. Like, I really don't care. Another new couple that I absolutely love is Britney and Kerok. Now, they met in prison. I'm assuming maybe on the Love During Lockup, because I'm like, how did you meet in prison? Their introduction in this season was them packing up their house, getting ready to move to Texas, saying, oh, this is a brand new start. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. And that's when I immediately knew something is up. On these shows, I realized the formula is nothing can ever go perfect. If you're too happy, if you're celebrating too much, something is on the horizon. And lo and behold, as they were going to get their Mercedes checked out for their move, he gets the call from the parole officer, who's pretty much like, yeah, you going to Texas, that was not approved, so I don't know what to tell you. He completely loses it, because he's over here saying, my mama, my family, they all moving to Texas with me. I just got approved for an apartment there, which is admirable, because I know it is very hard for people with felonies to get their own place. So for him to pull those strings and do that, and now he's like, and then you want to be mad and throw it onto the parole officer. No wonder why they have zero patience, because y'all pulling these stunts on them. Brittany finally gets the phone and try to talk calm to the parole officer. And the officer is just like, the best we can do is a little motel. And Kerok is like, well, a motel, blah, blah, blah. Sir, either that or we're going to be homeless. They suck it up, go to a motel, and he is terrified of telling his mama because her lease is up and she is over there packing up her house and ready to move to Texas. I really need all the moms of this show to have their own spin-off because we didn't even get into Karen. We got to talk about Karen. I may need to give her own video. It's insane. Next day when he pulls up, he plans to tell her, but it's literally her moving day. There's a U-Haul out in the parking lot and she is ready to close the door and turn in her keys. She even breaks the fourth wall and just like, don't bring no cameras in here. So I knew Miss Girl was not about to play any games. She gets her U-Haul packed up and that's when he says, girl, we ain't going to Texas. Her reaction, I'm sure they probably had to cut some parts out, and even if she played it nicer for the camera, I'm sure she had a whole different conversation with him once those cameras were down. I'm a little confused because she got in the truck and she left. So I don't know if she's like, hey, I'm going to Texas, you try to figure it out or not. We have to wait till episode 3. I'm gonna keep my eyes on them. Mostly the mom, because she is a wild card. I'm gonna need her and Karen to sit down and have a little lunch. Speaking of Karen, on to Zuriah and Troy. And honorable mention, Miss Karen. They are the definition of chaos. And by they, I just mean Zuriah. Her being a preacher's kid, you would think she has some type of like, sanity. But she is just literally the source of all the chaos, even from Love After Lockup and on to the premiere episode of this season. She gets Troy ready and they go on to their business, which I have a lot of thoughts about. He's coming straight out of prison and being over employees for this mental health facility that they are partnering doing. But the reason behind that is what makes me side-eye her. Before he was released, he expressed to her how he would have different struggles and the support that he would need once he's out to kind of like get back into society and get his mental health together. And she goes, all right, well, let's own an organization and let's put you over it, as opposed to let's enroll you into therapy. And I'm not surprised that wasn't the first option that she suggested, because she herself needs to be in therapy. She sets it all up like, you about to be over these people and you need to meet your employees, blah, 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 blah. They walk in the door and there are just 2 people sitting at that table. I'm like, that's it. Something is scammy here. And it didn't take long to figure out what it was, because the next day she wakes up in her little face mask and to go tap, tap, tap. I want you to read this. Pretty much, we are behind 2 or 3 months on rent for this organization. So actually we are locked out and cannot go into work. Also, we probably won't have money for the rent in this house, so we might be homeless too. What's the tea? His response was pretty much anyone's response, which was, hold on, what? Let me try to figure out a game plan. You just presented me with this problem and he wants to go on a walk. She immediately victimizes herself and go, why are you leaving? See, this is why I don't tell you nothing, blah, 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 blah. Like, how do you turn you, and I mean you specifically and only you, putting yourself in this financial hardship, telling him last minute he's wrong for reacting? Every problem that they are faced with, he takes it and really has great patience. You would think he's the preacher kid, and she's the only one that's just like off the wall crazy. Even Karen tried to talk some sense to her, and she don't listen. She's yelling out the balcony, still in her face mask. I am so sure these neighbors are tired. Every other week, and probably every week, somebody, if not her or Karen, is yelling out that balcony looking for Troy. I get Troy because he's like, pretty much, I need to walk. I need to, ease my mind and think things through, because when he was locked up for so long, that was not an option. Freedom was not an option. I still like to go on walks to like free my mind and to think through things, which is the most reasonable and rational way to do things, but she don't see it like that. I really would love to know what she expected his reaction to be. That would be my question to her if there was a reunion. What did you want him to do in that moment? How did you want him to react in that moment? Please tell the audience. The only person that can save the day is Miss Karen. And after seeing her post on social media,
Zuriah, turn your stinking something big.
I don't think she's gonna be saving the day over here. At least not for Zuriah, because she is cussing her out every other day. And then last we have Teenie and Rob. I also did not see their season, so they were new to me, but I really did like them. They make it to his welcome home party on the rooftop, all these nice drinks, all these nice snacks, and everyone's just like, I'm busy, can't make it. Girl, what notice did you give people? For not one person to come? Really? But he's happy, he's grateful. Her mom comes, a few people start trickling in, and then doom, 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 his mom comes in. Now, I don't know the backstory on that whole situation, except from the flashback when the mom pretty much was mad at Teenie and saying, you ain't taking care of me like his other girlfriends did. Y'all over here driving these nice cars, but you ain't giving me a dime. And I'm like, girl, she is dating your son, not you. Get a job. That whole dynamic has not been good from the start. And so she was hesitant about inviting his mom, but she did. She said, I'm gonna be the grown up, I'm gonna invite her. And she comes. They play nice, they hug, they talk. But she come in stumbling a little bit. I'm like, okay, girl, were you drinking a little bit before you got here? And based on her actions, I believe the answer was yes. It did not take any time for her to take her little digs at Teenie. She starts talking to her son Rob and saying, why you don't call me? You don't come visit me? You don't do nothing? I've been here for you. Who's gonna be here when Teenie ain't here? Me. And Teenie called that, what do you mean when Teenie ain't here? And then she tried to backpedal by saying, I'm just saying. But Teenie called that shade and was just like, let me get up and just walk away before I say or do something I'm gonna regret. As she's walking away, that's when the mom just like, bye, have a good day. And Teenie said, you know what?
What is your issue with me?
From there, I cannot even tell you how it got there, but the mom stands up, get in her face. I forgot who threw the first punch, but at this point, everyone just knucking and bucking. And the funniest part about this, his mom tripped while she was trying to take a swing at Teenie, and that's how she fell and hit her head on the seat. You would have thought that Teenie was like, bop, bop, bop. But no, girl. So that's why I'm like, she must have had a few cocktails on the way here and while she was there, because she came in on 10. There is no coming back from that. That's when you ask, will Montauk survive this? So those are my initial thoughts on Life After Lockup. There are a few more couples that will be coming on to this season, so I'm excited to get into them as well. Be sure to subscribe to me here on YouTube for all of my other recaps. Follow me on TikTok as well if you don't already. And if you would like to see full episode reactions for this season as well as many others, follow me on Patreon. Be sure to check out the tiers because there are plenty of shows that we have already covered and we are going to cover. There's also some free perks too, so if you don't want to pay, you will still find a spot for you there as well. Until next time.